Modern enterprise environments rely heavily on Bluetooth for peripheral connectivity, but beneath that convenience is an invisible radio frequency exchange, one that is routinely intercepted and duplicated by unauthorized devices without triggering a single system alarm. The root of this vulnerability lies in default configurations. Out of the box, these protocols prioritize immediate connection over cryptographic integrity, leaving the endpoints structurally compromised. To address these wireless vulnerabilities, the National Institute of Standards and Technology published Special Publication 800-121 Revision 2. This standard provides a rigorous evaluation of the protocol's architecture, specifically dissecting the security mechanisms implemented up through Bluetooth version 4.2. The primary challenge in securing these endpoints is legacy backwards compatibility. Hardware is required to support decades-old connection methods, creating a highly fragmented and exploitable security landscape. This complexity is compounded by the core reality of modern hardware. Current devices operate on a dual-stack system, running two distinct protocols side by side: basic rate/enhanced data rate, known as BR/EDR, and low energy. Locking down a modern endpoint means you cannot rely on a single global security toggle. Administrators must independently configure and harden both of these parallel cryptographic stacks. Trusting short-range physical proximity to protect your data is a critical enterprise failure. True security requires strict, protocol-level enforcement of FIPS-approved cryptography across the entire connection lifecycle. Consider a typical enterprise laptop connecting to a suite of wireless peripherals. To understand the attack surface, that hardware's communication architecture must be divided into two distinct parallel columns. The left column is BR/EDR. This physical protocol is engineered for continuous, high-speed data streams, the type of bandwidth required for streaming audio or transferring large files. The right column, low energy, serves an opposing function. It is an architecture optimized for isolated, short-burst transmissions, designed to preserve battery life in peripherals like keyboards or fitness trackers. Because enterprise hardware must support both continuous headsets and low-power keyboards, they operate as dual-mode devices, running both physical protocols concurrently. This concurrent operation creates two entirely separate attack surfaces. Threat actors do not have to break the entire device. They can target whichever stack is configured with weaker security. Both of these architectures face the standard suite of wireless threats. Over-the-air eavesdropping allows attackers to passively record unencrypted data, while man-in-the-middle attacks actively intercept and alter the exchange. Denial of service remains a persistent threat across both frequencies, designed to overwhelm the receivers and break the connection entirely. The limited radio frequency range of these protocols offers zero mathematical defense against any of these attack vectors. Securing a dual-mode device means you have to independently validate the cryptographic integrity of both the continuous data wave and the intermittent burst stream. The most critical and vulnerable window in a device's lifecycle is the initial pairing handshake, the exact moment two devices establish trust. Looking specifically at the BR/EDR cryptographic handshake phase, the primary goal is to generate the link key. This is the fundamental cryptographic element used to authenticate the devices and encrypt the resulting data stream. In legacy versions of BR/EDR, this pairing process utilized weak, non-standard key exchanges that lacked rigorous mathematical proofs. Generating an unauthenticated link key creates a severe man-in-the-middle exposure. A localized attacker can easily capture the exchange parameters and deduce the key, compromising the entire session. To close this gap, the version 4.1 update introduced a mandatory architectural requirement called Secure Connections for BR/EDR. The core of this upgrade is the strict enforcement of the FIPS-approved Advanced Encryption Standard, or AES. By requiring 128-bit AES, the protocol elevates the link key from a weak secret into a cryptographically rigorous asset. Strong encryption is useless if the key is handed to the wrong person. Authenticated pairing is an absolute necessity to ensure that the AES-backed key is distributed securely, verifying the identity of the specific endpoints. When enforced correctly, BR/EDR secure connections use AES mathematics to neutralize standard over-the-air eavesdropping capabilities. That secures the continuous stream. The parallel low-energy architecture requires a distinct cryptographic methodology. For the burst stream, the low-energy equivalent to the BR-EDR link key is called the long-term key, or LTK. Early low-energy pairing mechanisms were significantly weaker than their BR-EDR counterparts. Because the legacy LTK distribution occurred over unencrypted channels, an attacker passively monitoring the frequency could simply read the key straight out of the air. The structural fix for this stack arrived in the version 4.2 update, which brought secure connections to the low-energy protocol. This update replaced the exposed key distribution with elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman, or ECDH, as the new FIPS-approved cryptographic standard. ECDH utilizes a public key exchange. Instead of transmitting the actual key, the connecting devices swap public mathematical values. Those public values allow both devices to independently calculate the shared secret LTK. The actual key is generated securely inside the hardware and is never transmitted over the air. This specific mathematical process blinds a man-in-the-middle attacker. If they intercept the transmission, they only acquire useless public data instead of the actual key, leaving them unable to decrypt the stream. ECDH takes the low-energy stack from an exposed protocol and locks it down into a rigorously defensible enterprise-grade architecture. Cryptographic algorithms are only effective if the hardware is explicitly instructed to use them. To standardize this configuration, NIST established a security mode matrix, grading device settings based on their threat mitigation capabilities. Evaluating the bottom tier, Security Mode 1 operates with a total lack of cryptographic security. NIST mandates that this mode must be disabled in all enterprise deployments. Moving up the matrix, Modes 2 and 4 introduce encryption, but they share a critical flaw. They initiate security only after the physical link is already established. This post-link initialization creates a dangerous window of exposure. By completing the physical connection before verifying identities, the system gives attackers the necessary time to slip in and manipulate the channel. To eliminate this window, the ultimate NIST mandate for BR-EDR architecture requires strictly enforcing Security Mode 4, Level 4. Setting a device to Mode 4, Level 4 is the exact configuration that activates the AES secure connections and authenticated pairing. For the parallel low-energy stack, the ultimate NIST mandate is strictly enforcing Security Mode 1, Level 4. This specific level is the exact setting required to force the ECDH public key exchange. If an endpoint is operating beneath Level 4 on either of these stacks, cryptographic man-in-the-middle protection is mathematically non-existent. Pulling back to the macro view of enterprise architecture, it becomes clear that these strict cryptographic settings must be centrally enforced across the entire network. Without explicit mobile device management rules pushing these configurations, end-user hardware will inevitably fall back to its vulnerable legacy defaults to maintain convenience. NIST also outlines operational strictures to accompany these settings. Administrators must actively disable unneeded Bluetooth profiles to shrink the available attack surface, and mandate that all initial pairing processes occur only in physically secured environments where localized eavesdropping is impossible. True enterprise Bluetooth security is never an inherent hardware feature. It is an explicitly configured, rigorously enforced cryptographic policy.